Hey everybody, welcome back to Wellness Minutes. I think everybody knows Ryan Christopher from COSMEDIX Skincare Global Trainer because he's one of the smartest guys in our business and I love him. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing good. You're so nice, Allan. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I have to say this, I have roughly 30 years in the business. I started when I was 12. So,
right.
But I know that every time I talk with you, and not even particularly about your brand, but when I talk to you, I learn a lot. And I think we're still learning every day. And I get a good heart fill from you when I'm in a brain fill.
Yeah, same here. But I have to tell you, I mean, if you're not learning every day, then what are you doing in this business? Because I'm still learning every single day. It's amazing.
Well, and the fact is, I'm going to turn on my timer so I don't forget. The fact is, people let us stay working until we're 60 or 70 or 80 or 90. You look at people that are 100 years old, people continue to stay in our business. And so anyways, you're in your jungle and I'm in my jungle today. So we got birds, we got dogs, we got all kinds of background noise. But when you sent me what you wanted to talk about, and we're talking about skincare combined with devices, yes. I can tell you, as I've been at a dozen trade shows already this year, devices, tools are really critical in the industry. So give me 30 seconds on just your overall view, and then we'll get into some of the specifics.
Yeah, it was a topic I wanted us to bring up because of the fact that we have been deeply entrenched with the COSMEDIX brand on creating customizable protocols around our brand, utilizing a lot of these devices that we're seeing out there in the market. There was a big common thread that people were coming back to us, spa partners that already use our line, that said, hey, I've got this new device. How can I use your line alongside these devices? So I've spent the past couple of years just diving into all of the different devices that are out there on the market and available and figuring out, okay, let's look at the technology behind it. How can we create protocols to help support these treatments with our skincare formulas? And I think a lot of spas are trying to do that right now with the existing lines that they've already invested in, even if they're taking on a new device. So I thought it would be a very important conversation for us to have.
Good. I love it. So I just wrote down the title of your next blog post. It's going to be called Touch Tools and Skincare.
Perfect. Touch Tools and Skincare. I love it.
What's trending in our industry, whether it's skincare or it's tools, or what do you see going on?
Well, okay, so devices in the past few years have started to slowly trickle to become one of the main forefronts when it comes to getting results in the spa room. So whereas we were always and have always been very skincare heavy, we've always been very skincare heavy, and we have always been focused on chemical peels and things like that. But there's definitely a hard trend shifting to where people are not opting so much for chemical peels, and they're looking for microdermabrasion, they're looking for microcurrent. Of course, we know Hydrofacial did a beautiful job of marketing their aquadermabrasion, but there are multiple aquadermabrasion devices on the market. So there are lots of different devices that are starting to really take hold. And Hydrofacial, I have to say, just to highlight them, they did such a beautiful job in their marketing and their PR. They're doing the bus tour right now of every major city, because what they've done is they've created a hype around their brand. And now spas can benefit from the business of taking on a Hydrofacial machine. Whereas 5 years ago, if you took on a Hydrofacial machine, there wasn't necessarily as much consumer buzz around it. So it's amazing to see that consumers are really focusing in on these devices. I mean, there are home versions all around, but those home versions, everybody knows they don't work as well as a trained professional using a professional grade device on your skin.
So we know about Hydrofacial. There are other tools in the market. You don't necessarily have to spend $20,000 to $35,000 on a machine if you're getting started, but it surely carries a lot of weight in terms of, I think you go into a spa, it's pretty professional.
It's very professional, and it's the brand recognition. We're seeing that right now with COSMEDIX just in our skincare. We've had some notable PR marks and some high celebrities start to recognize our brand. And what's funny is on the business side, spas and consumers are reaching out to us because of the fact that spas are saying, oh my God, my clients are aware of the fact that like Victoria Beckham is talking about your products, so now I want to carry your products. It's the same thing that Hydrofacial has done with their PR and devices as well. But I have to say, tools like aquadermabrasion, microneedling, nanoneedling, both of those devices, depending on what state you work in. Microcurrent is definitely seeing another big wave of attention. Microdermabrasion is always going to be there. I will say, though, microdermabrasion is not on the hot end right now. What's leading the hot end is definitely microneedling, microcurrent, aquadermabrasion. Those are definitely on the forefront right now. And then, of course, we cannot forget about LED light therapy. Because
oh my God. In fact, I saw an article today because the FDA sent something out on how blue light can cause blindness. Now, there's a lot more than what I just said. In fact, I sent the article to a couple of the light people in the industry who gave me all the reasons why, yeah, that's not true, depending on how you're using the machine. But you brought up what I was going to ask you next, which was the conversation of popular devices. So I'm going to remind everybody, because I think this is so critical. Yes, needle rolling, microcurrent, etc. But scope, you're an esthetician, you know the scope of practice. You need to know what your scope of practice is in your state, correct?
Yes, you absolutely do. And what's unfortunate about our industry right now is that it is not regulated across the U.S. as a whole. Every state has very different regulations as to what estheticians can or can't do. For example, the state of Illinois does not allow an esthetician to utilize a chemical peel with a pH of under 3. And I mean, you know, for chemical peels, they range for estheticians in multiple states where we have peels with a pH as low as 2 for estheticians in certain states. But for, you know, for the state of Illinois and other states, they have a higher threshold. So it's just making sure that you understand. Here's the pet peeve that I have when it comes to state regulation and especially new devices. The fibroblast plasma pen has been a newer technology that's been introduced to the market. But the problem is, just like microneedling, if you remember this, a few years ago when microneedling started to become popular, it was ahead of the FDA's regulation. And so we had companies that were actively distributing these devices into our market. And then the FDA turned around and said, okay, now wait a minute, and put a regulation on the needle depth, the needle length for these pens, and then found that a lot of these companies were registering their microneedling devices under the dermabrasion category as an exfoliating device, but it wasn't doing that. It was actually puncturing the skin, which is widely against what an esthetician's scope of practice is.
I have a lot of stories about that, but we don't have time to cover it today. But I'm going to say it again. They need to talk to people like you, or they can go to Patty Byro and Associates. I mean, she doesn't sell equipment or skincare, but she's a world of information on licensing around the country as well.
And it's not that difficult to go to your own state's cosmetology board website to look at requirements for estheticians, and then you can reach out to them as well to answer just a simple question. Also, with whoever your your liability insurance around your practice, you can reach out to them as well to see, hey, do you cover this device if I practice it? Because that is a very important thing to know, is if you have insurance or not.
All right, I want to close with something because I see we're running out of time here, and we could talk all day anyways, right?
Yes.
You talked earlier about chemical peels and how it's waned a little bit, but I have to tell you, I've had chemical peels done. Nothing corrects the skin like getting a chemical peel. I mean, plain and simple. But can you combine the devices with chemical peels?
You definitely can, and that's one thing that I've specialized here in the last year with COSMEDIX, is creating protocols where you combine. So COSMEDIX creates lactic acid and retinol-based peels, and so with lactic acid peels, it provides an opportunity to combine them with additional exfoliation after the fact. So if you're doing microdermabrasion, if you're doing micro or aquadermabrasion like a hydrofacial device, you can do those exfoliations first, and then you can enhance the penetration of the lactic acid peel afterwards. Now, for microneedling and nanoneedling, they usually recommend an enzymatic peel treatment prior to the microneedling service so that you're softening the proteins on the surface of the skin so that the needles can penetrate a lot easier. So yes, you can actually enhance the efficacy of the devices with certain peel treatments. You just have to be trained in it and also have experience to know the certain skin types and skin tones that you can push a little bit deeper without pushing the skin too far.
So you just made me make a note to call Pat Shervin. She's the woman I go to for facials. She works in a medical clinic. She's wonderful. So I'm looking at myself here going, yeah, I probably need a little work done. So
we're all our own worst critic, Allan.
We are our own worst critics. I know. People always say you look so good, and I go, no, I don't.
Just start agreeing with them.
We're going to come back in part 2 and talk about LED and more because I think it's so critical. But everybody knows Ryan's info is going to be on the back of the screen. You have to reach out to him. He's a wealth of information. Ryan, always a pleasure.
Great to talk to you. Look forward to our next call.
Bye.